Okay, is everyone ready?
Anyway, good evening. I hope everyone is doing well. Thank you for taking time to come here tonight for our first community event for the year. This, weekend. So, so this year, you all know we organized meetups previously, but this year going to join by Yanni. So we're going to be part of our team for this meetups as well. So this is Yanni. We're going to come to the so. But yeah, what a great evening with you all. That's it. If you need anything, guys, just let me know. Just our tools. Please, if you need to go to the bathroom, just go to the side. Need anything, just come to me. Yeah, I will give my page 30 for sure. So that's why I make sure to get everything sorted out by page 30. Otherwise, if you have a question, just try to give them the session. The speaker is down, so if this person is speaker is down, try not to put it in the session. Yeah, that's the thing.
Cool. Thanks, Stacey. So welcome, guys, to AWS reInvent recap for 2024. This is a community event, so it's not going to be boring 1 hour slide presentations from AWS. It's like an information overload. We're going to keep it short and exciting. And yes, we have AWS in the house. Yes. So we have a wide variety of people talking. I will be talking for myself, and we have Vili from Electrum and Veliswa and Tobega also presenting the event. Here in front, you will notice literally a table of swag. So if you're going to sit and be quiet, you're not going to get some swag. And it's free swag. You don't have to pay for it. So please engage with the speakers, engage in the community, ask questions. Even though you think it's a dumb question, it's not a dumb question to someone else. So engage and you can win some swag. To increase your chances to win some limited edition swag, you need to go follow us on social media. There's a QR code to scan. And we'll pick some lucky winners of the followers we have tonight. And you can win some swag. There's a range from socks, like literally a range, t-shirts, caps, cups, stickers, so and bags. You can win all those. So feel free to scan the code, or if you're already following us, thank you. So I just want to thank you to for AWS for the event, because we are talking about them. Thank you for the Skill Center for hosting us for the snacks and drinks. And then thank you to our community, Tati, to actually host this event and plan it and get it ready. We are at the re-event recap. Who knows, and this is for swag, what is the purpose of reInvent? All the swag for us. No swag? Socks up? There we go. Yes, 100%. So to sum it up, reInvent is about what is AWS releasing into the market for the next year until the next reInvent. There's a lot of services either new, or the services has been modified, or there's a lot of new announcements to things that changed in the market. And the reInvent is the purpose to host a big event across a few days to basically announce these services. So how many attendees is at reInvent this previous year? Over? I can't hear, sorry. No, for the actual reInvent in Las Vegas, how many attendees were there at that event? Yeah. There we go. 60,000 on the dot, run about 60,000 attendees. So that was just 60,000 people attending in one venue. That is crazy. So how many online, because obviously we are South Africans, we can't afford it. How many online watched from across the globe? 1 million. Sorry? 400K. There you go. That's a good one. Did you want? Someone has been doing research. And how many sessions were there hosted at reInvent? 6. Yeah, it's rough session. So it's 5 days to give you an idea. How many sessions over the 5 days were there? Close. Who said 900? You. Yeah, 900. It's like, it's crazy. Like, no, people are not watching what I'm presenting. Yeah, 100%, 900. And how many speakers? So to give you an idea, we are 3 speakers tonight covering a few subjects. How many speakers are there at reInvent? 500, no?
3,500.
Ah, he's been doing some Googling. All Billy's influencing on that side. Yes, 3,500 speakers on the event. So now, more question, how many updates were they released for this event? Any guess? Yes. 5,500. 545. Did you Google? Did you chat GPT? That's close enough. Close enough. Yeah, we'll 546 updates were. Yeah, no, I smell something fishy, eh? And then how many pre-reinvent sessions were there? Any guess? It's around about the same number? No, no. Right? No, no. It's a bit more. No, no one guess? No, no. It's not that much. It's less than the actual update. So they release it before. Getting warmer, getting warmer, moving into the right direction. 400, bit more. Yeah, bit less, bit less. 420 what? 425. You're very close. We'll give that. It's 422 pre-reinvent sessions that was launched. And then how many decks of slides that was combined? No socks. Okay, for a cap. How many decks and slides with all these updates were released? No one guess final? Yes, so reInvent publish their updates on a deck of information. How many decks were released? No. It's less than what I'm holding up in my hand. I want to see 5,000 in my hand. Getting closer, getting closer. No, wrong. 2.5. No, we were 2. No. 1. Thank you. There's only one deck has been released, but this deck contains all of the updates. And there's that for you to share. So you can scan the QR code and then see all of the updates condensed. It's fairly big. And download it on your phone, you will fill up storage. Download it on your PC and go just look at everything that is inclusive of these updates. Cool. So that was just to get everyone started. For tonight, the speakers, we have Feliswa, and she has a co-presenter. You'll be me. I will also be talking, and then we have Vali from Electrum that will present some content tonight. So are you guys ready? Okay. Cool. Let's start the recap.
Today, we'll kind of touch on the announcements. There were some announcements around analytics, application integration, business applications. We had announcements around compute, containers, databases. We had some around developer tools, machine learning, front-end web, and mobile. And some announcements around customer engagement, migration, and transfer, and some around networking and content delivery. There is a new family of models for generative AI that we've launched on Amazon Bedrock. So there was a lot of buzz around that. You'll see on social media, there's still quite a lot of buzz around it as well. So that was announced there. Security, identity, and compliance, serverless, and storage. And I think you've already scanned that QR code to get access to the PDF. If not, you can just scan that now so that you can access the PDF and take a look at that later on. So, Henny already asked, are you ready? Fasten your seatbelts, we're going to recap. So, here we go. I'm only going to do announcements around analytics, but you've already had this catch up of who the other speakers are. But there's a guest speaker that you don't know about, and she'll be making a guest appearance, and that's Tobeka. She will kind of support me with one of the announcements that I'll be talking about. And Tobeka, when she does come up, she'll tell you why she's on there. So analytics, there were 31 announcements that were made. So 11 were made during the week of reInvent, and 20 were made during pre-invent, which is that time, that's the lead up to reInvent. And just one of the announcements that we heard about. Who in the room is into DevOps? DevOps and so if you are using Apache Kafka, anyone in the room? So you'll note that a few years ago, we made it easy for you to build with Apache Kafka on AWS. So we brought Apache Kafka onto AWS as a managed service. This meant that everything that you do, your pipelines and your integrations that you do using Apache Kafka, you can now do these on AWS. And because we manage that for you, there's a lot of underlying work that you don't need to do because we take care of that for you. So that was a couple of years that we did that. And just some key points about the service Amazon MSK. So with Kafka, you get brokers. And what brokers do is that they make sure that when you scale, it's easier for you to scale. And they also make sure that they do your fault tolerance. So these are brokers on Apache Kafka. So we have an announcement that is related to brokers on AWS that was announced. So what we now have is express brokers for Amazon MSK. What it means with this announcement of express brokers is that you now can deliver up to 3 times more throughput per broker. Remember I said earlier on, you've got brokers so that you can do your scaling and you can do your fault tolerance. Now, you get to do that quite a lot faster. What express brokers do is that they come pre-configured with Kafka best practices by default. They support Kafka APIs, and they provide you with the same low latency performance that Amazon MSK, which was already there, that you've come to expect. And they do all of this so that you can continue to use your existing applications that you have without any changes. So again, because it's managed, all of that will be handled for you. So that was the one announcement that we have related to analytics. Who in the room has already been doing machine learning on AWS? Or maybe you're just doing machine learning, not on AWS, just machine learning. Okay, so you know there are a couple of processes that you go through in the process of training a model. You will do your data collection, so you will find your data set that you're going to use, and you will do your pre-processing where you prepare your data set, you will do your feature engineering, you will split your data, you might have training data that you want, validation data, test data that you want, so you will do the splitting. Once you've got your data set, you will do the model selection, you will then train your model. So there's a lot involved. And who in the room knows that you could already do this on AWS, and there's a service that we have on AWS where you can do this. What is the service? SageMaker. Yes. So we announced during reInvent last year that now we have the next generation of Amazon SageMaker. So before, you could do all the processes that are related to you training your model and actually publishing your endpoint. But now we're bringing everything else that is that helps you do the training of your models on AWS. That this unified platform that we have on Amazon SageMaker. So in addition to you being able to build, train, deploy your AI models at scale, you can now also do your data exploration. I said earlier on that usually you need to get a data set. You usually would go to another site outside of AWS to do this. Kaggle, I think I go to Kaggle a lot to get my training data set. So usually you had to do that, but now you can do all of that on this one platform, this next generation of Amazon SageMaker that we now have. So you now can do, in addition to the training and the building, you can do your data exploration, you can prepare and integrate, you can do big data processing on Amazon SageMaker, you can do analytics, your model development and training, and you can do generative AI. So that was the announcement. At the center of all of this, you have the Amazon SageMaker Unified Studio. The Unified Studio is still on public preview. It is on public preview. Did I touch on the different, I don't think I actually mentioned, we have statuses for an announcement. So sometimes we'll say it's generally available. When we say it's generally available, it means you can now go onto whatever region, you'll be able to use it. Sometimes we launch, but it's on preview. With preview, it means you need to ask for access to it. Usually when you ask for access, you'll say why, and we'll look at your use case and we'll decide how we then grant you. When we say public preview, you have access to it. You don't need to ask for access, but what's available is kind of limited. So in a way, you're helping us test that feature that we have. So that's the case with Amazon SageMaker Unified Studio. It's available, it's not generally available. It means it's not 100% ready, but we've made it available to you. Then you can kind of help us test and fine tune that. So that's how you'll be able to access Amazon SageMaker Unified Studio today. And that's just a view of what it looks like if you go and today you go onto Amazon Studio, the UI. So what you also will get with that is you will now have the Amazon SageMaker Lakehouse. It's been brought onto this Unified Studio. What the Lakehouse does, it means that you now have a unified access to the data that you need. That is your data that's residing on Amazon S3 data lakes, on Amazon Redshift, which is your warehouse, or any other data sources that you might have where you are accessing your data. And the next announcement is, okay, that continues on SageMaker Lakehouse. Now I have the next announcement, and I have now my special co-presenter that I mentioned earlier on. Tabeka will come up very quickly and introduce the next announcement and tell us why.
Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you. So, thank you actually for giving me this opportunity. Okay, so my name is Tabeka, and I'm an analyst programmer. Because you should know that I have a very deep passion for cloud computing. So, for me, last year I had an incredible opportunity to attend AWS reInvent in Las Vegas. So I was one of those thousands of tech professionals that came together to network and to learn about, the latest cutting-edge innovations that was announced. And there is one session that I attended, and it was the AWS data. It's the AWS Community Groups that was presented by Belisa and her colleague Ezra. So for me, that was a very insightful session that actually highlighted the. Apologies, guys. Today I actually spent the whole day in action-centered work, and my mind is we were just looking for a bag, but finally we found it. So your session was very it highlighted the power of secure data collaboration in the cloud, and that's something that I work with every day. I must also say that another reason why I wanted to attend was to get an opportunity to see you there. It's always great to have a familiar face on a global stage. So as Elisa mentioned, I will be introducing one of the services she was speaking about today. Okay, so I think that's the one there. Okay, so let's make it quick and introduce the elephant in the room. So data collaboration challenges. How many of us have faced issues working with shared data sets while trying to protect our own data? Well, I work with data every single day, so we are dealing with three major challenges here. The first one being data fragmentation and silos. So our data is scattered across different applications, channels, and partners. Let's say it's like trying to complete a puzzle with pieces from different boxes. And it creates compatibility and scale challenges. And the second one is data proliferation. So in the next 5 years, we'll see more than double the amount of digital data since digital storage began. That's like us. Okay, so let's do this. Sorry. Okay, that's very much better. Same slide. Okay, so the second one is data proliferation challenge. So in the next 5 years, we'll see more than double the amount of digital data since the digital data storage began. That's like a significant amount of data, right? And we know that companies need to understand how they are driving business outcomes. And the last one is evolving data landscapes. We are constantly trying to balance data utilization with privacy concerns. And we need a better way to manage how our sensitive raw data is collected, stored, and used, while we also try to make sure how to protect our data. Okay, so let's take a step back and define data collaboration. So data collaboration is a process where two or more organizations can securely share and analyze data. So all this happens while they're trying to maintain the control over their sensitive information and protecting the customer privacy. So it enables organizations to derive insights from combined data sets without actually exposing or sharing the raw data with each other. Now, here where it gets tricky. Traditional data collaboration methods often feel like choosing, a hard rock and a hard place. So it's like you either share your data and you hope for the best, or you don't collaborate at all, which means you miss out on valuable insights. So you want to limit your data. Data movement as much as possible in order for you to protect your data, prevent misusage, as well as you to avoid, or your company avoid the risk of leakage. Maybe for an example, it's some sort of like being asked to lend your diary to a friend. Let's say you want to help, but you're also not sure if you want your friend to read everything. So as a result, many of us choose not to collaborate, which means you're potentially missing out on game-changing opportunities. But what if I told you there is a better way? slide. It's not moving. All right. Imagine a magical room where you and your peers can analyze collective data sets without revealing the underlying data. That sounds good, right? So with AWS Clean Rooms, we can create a secure environment in minutes and start collaborating with anyone in the AWS cloud. So this will help us to generate unique insights about a range of use cases. So many of us want to securely share data with select collaborators and friends. And AWS Clean Rooms will help us analyze the data with business partners without sharing the entire data set. So this capability allows us to safely analyze collective data and generate insights that couldn't be produced independently. Okay, so I will now hand back over to Belisa. Thank you.
You said you had never done public speaking before. This was great. Well, we put it on the spot the next time. Choose someone. Thank you for that. So when people hear about this service, they think, that sounds so random. And what a random use case. Why would I ever want to work with this thing? And that's how they look at you. Even when we did the chocolate reinvent, that's how they kind of look at us. What is it? But there are use cases. Once you hear this use case, you're gonna think, wow, yeah, that makes sense, and yeah, I'll do a lot of this now because I can see why. So AWS Clean Rooms is a company that is a service that lets you do the collaboration with someone else. So let's say you are in advertising or marketing, and there's a company that you're collaborating with. You wanna infer insights from each other's data, but now you don't wanna share each other's customers' details. You just wanna infer. That's really what it actually is used for, and we're going to look at a demo of how you can set up a clean rooms. And I hope once we've looked at that, it will kind of make sense. So what did we announce at reInvent? Right now, you have a couple of data sources that you can connect when you are creating a clean rooms. So you can say, fetch my data from an S3 bucket that I will be sharing for this collaboration. What we announced was additional data sources, like SharePoint was one of the data sources we announced, and Salesforce as well was one of the data sources that we announced. So that's what we actually announced at reInvent. And what was great with this announcement is that I co-presented with Ezra. She is a solution architect at AWS. She's based in the Netherlands. But both of us, behind the scenes, we write for the AWS News blog, which means we get to work with the service teams before they announce the launch. So she was actually the person writing the announcement blog post for this launch. And what was great about that is that we got to test it quite a lot with the service teams and give them feedback before they launched it. And it was announced on the day of our talk, actually, so we had to change our slide decks very quickly before our talk to make sure that we now include this. It was great collaboration behind the scenes. So I will skip from here and go straight to the demo because we're almost out of time. Once we look at this demo, it's always two or more people doing a collaboration. So there is work that's done on person A, and there's work done on person B's platforms. Just to make it hopefully easier for us to follow, I did the dark mode, light mode, so that we can keep track. And the use case that we have here is we have two user groups. I don't think it's a far-fetched use case. It's two user groups that want to work together to co-host an event. I'm sure that's like, it's not unrealistic. So we call them here, there's a Java user group and a Python. Would they ever want to co-host an event? I don't know. So they want to do a meetup together, and they want to see, before they say let's do something, they want to see if they have members on both, common members on both. So if they have common members on both sides, then it makes sense for them to co-host. So that's what's happening. So it starts off with the dark mode. I think that's the Java user group that is defining the collaboration, and they're going to invite the Python user group to the collaboration. to be able to invite someone to your collaboration, you need to have their AWS account number. You will enter that. So they're inviting them. Is it playing? Is it playing? Okay, there, yeah. So they're defining the collaboration, and they're gonna capture a few details, like the name of the collaboration, the kind of queries that will be run against that collaboration, and then the account IDs of the people that they're inviting. So the people they're inviting will be members on this collaboration. You can invite up to 5 people, but they're just gonna invite just one person. So they're doing all of that definition. So they enter themselves, their details, and then they'll enter the Python person's, just what they're gonna call the name of that person in the collaboration, and then they enter their account number on AWS. Then that query login, you are saying what kind of queries will be run against the data that we have. So that's what they're defining there. And then they also going to define who will be doing the analysis on this data set. And then later on, you'll see they will define who will be paying for the queries that we run against these data sets. So when they say who will be running the queries, it could be them, it could be the other person, it could be both of them. It depends on who's actually looking for the insights. And then where is the data that's going to be analyzed against? Where is it residing? So for this, you define an S3 bucket. For this demo, I defined an S3 bucket, but I did say earlier on that we have other data sources now. It could have been a SharePoint, it could have been a Salesforce that you actually point to. And then other definitions, and now they're reviewing it, and then they're going to then create the collaboration. When a collaboration is created, the Python person gets an invite to the collaboration. And now, light mode, that's now the Python account. And now when they go in onto the clean rooms console, they see that they've got an invitation to join a collaboration. And what they'll do, they then start, that's the name of the collaboration, and they will, accepting the collaboration, they start defining a few things. Like, every time an analysis is run against my data, do I want to store logs on it so that I actually can see who ran logs against, who ran analysis or insights against my data. That is what they define here. They're also saying where their data that they bring into the collaboration, where that's residing. And there's a service role that will have access to do a few things. So it will run the analysis, to do inferring of the insights, and then they are now in the collaboration. So now that they're in, they've said this is my data, but the data still needs to be cataloged. So the next part is now them cataloging that data that was in the S3 that they defined. So with that, then they say they're configuring a table that will do the cataloging of the data. You'll see later on how they actually use that. So you could either have a table that already exists, or you create a new one just for the purposes of this. For this, I already had a database that I defined in a table, and now I'm just saying that's the table that will be used to catalog that data. And do I want to bring in all the columns in my S3 onto, do I want to bring all the columns in my table to the collaboration, or do I just want to bring a few? For security reasons, you will always do list privilege. So you don't want to bring everything on if you don't need it. So they just said I just want to bring in hash email, phone, and an ID. That's all I want the person running insights against my data to have access to. So you have control all the way. So now they've done that, and that is now done. They've configured the table, which now means they're 100% finished bringing all their data to the collaboration. That was the Python person. So they brought their data. Now they say, what are you allowed to do against my data? What kind of analysis can you run against my data? It's aggregation rules that I'm defining a list. So you'll see later on, we've selected aggregation here. You'll see how they actually run that. So they're saying aggregation. So with this, and then selecting list, they're saying you can't list all the rows in my tables. That's also another security thing. And so that is that. So they selected aggregation, and then next they are going to now say, what can you do against my data? So you can do a count. Remember we said they want to figure out whether they've got people in common. So they say, I just want this person to be able to do counts, and only against hashed email, because I'm thinking hashed emails, there will be similarities. They count against ID, and they also going to count against hashed email. We could have selected some or any others if we wanted to, but then the aggregation rule that we defined before determines what you're actually able to do here. They're defining some joins across hashed email and the hashed phone, and they further on go to just define other things as well. That is, so that's just dimensions. Dimensions is another feature that we use to control what can be done against your data. So all the way, as you're making your raw data available to someone else, you have control into how they've got access to your raw data, and that's a great thing. So we're almost done with all the different specifications that we do here. Like this field that they're defining here, they say if maybe they don't want to be able to reveal, like give the other person even an idea of who is in their data set. So they say if there are not a lot of matches against this email address, don't even return anything back, because I don't want to give them any idea of what's going on there. So that's done. So we've defined the table, we've done the cataloging, and we've defined the aggregation rules, and now we finalize the collaboration or bringing your data into the collaboration. And that's just the last part. And here we've defined the service roles that will have access to run against your data set. So that's done. So now Python person got the invite and they did all the configurations. And now just to make the table ready so that it can, so that the Java person can run analysis and insights against it. And that's that. And once they done here, then they're done. So they say once Java person has finished running the inference, they can receive the results of that. Okay, and that is now successfully done. We're done. Okay, and I think that is, so now that's Python account. They got the invite and they are finished, and now we're here. Why do I record my demos like this? Because it's actually done. Why am I still hovering? Okay, now back to Java account. So they invited Python person. They accepted the invitation. They did everything else. And now it's back to them, Java people, who did the invitation. And now, what they will do on their side as well is say, I'm also bringing my data into this collaboration. And now they're defining very similar to what we saw for Python. It'll be the same kind of process that you see them going through. They also say, for my data, I'm bringing only these columns. I'm cataloging them in this table, and only these columns will be used in the collaboration, very similar to what we saw with the other one. So just going through the same process as well. Okay, so that's done. And so they've done the configuration, they've brought their data to the collaboration as well and defined how it's going to be cataloged. And then next, we also will define analysis rules. So they're also saying only aggregation can be run, and not a list, and just defining other features as well. So what kind of aggregate functions can be run? So if they don't choose some can be run, we'll see later on at the end of the demo what that looks like. So very similar to what we saw taking place in the Python account. Okay, just finalizing, just defining very similar constraints to the ones that I talked about earlier on. All the way, always have control in how people look at the data that you bring into this collaboration. Then they are finalizing, configuring the analysis rule, and they then associate the table, right? Bringing the table to the collaboration. They're defining what collaboration, and that's the one that we're looking at. And then they're doing the rest of it, but it also saw happening on the other side as well. So finalizing that. Okay. Now just to activate it, make sure that it's available to the collaboration. With this results delivery, they're saying once you run the insights, who should receive the results of the insights that we run? And in this case, it's saying both people. They could have said just one, but they're saying both people can receive the results of the insights. And now I think we're ready. Now we're ready to run the insights. Let's see what's the next part. So yeah, now we're ready. So both sides, they're now part of the collaboration. They've defined their analysis rules. They've defined what data gets brought and how that data is brought and how the analysis is run. Now let's see, based on what we saw being defined, what now happens when you run your SQL. And I haven't done select statements since when? Probably the 90s, so this was a weird thing. So they run the first select. We said you can do aggregate functions against my table. So the Python person said you can run select, you can run aggregate against my table. Will it work if they do a select star? If they run a select star, let's see if that's going to work. They get an error because that's not allowed. And they improve it a bit. Remember, the other one said they must have joins, so they're still getting an error. So nothing. The last one they run is the correct one. They've got the joins using the fields that we, the columns that are allowed, and they've got the count distinct, which is all allowed, and this should work. And it's according to the rules. And it's completed successfully, and there's a number. So what they get now is that, so Java person ran and they said, okay, the Python user group is that this, I used a very small data set, you use a big one. It said there are 17 members that are cross-both. So they can look at that and decide, do they want to go ahead and actually host the meetup? You could run this with a realistic data set. That was not a very realistic data set that I ran with, that's why I only had 17 there. So we had more announcement that came, but you will see these if you go onto the PDF. And let me just, because I need your help with something. Please will scan this, and this builder ID, if you don't already have one, I think some of us in the room might already have a builder ID. So if you don't already one, that's how you can make sure that you go and grab yourself one. When we start looking at doing your hands-on and all of those with generative AI, and you are especially working with Amazon to develop a media builder ID, there's a lot else that we'll be doing at AWS where you really need your builder ID to actually get going with. And I think that's the end of my announcements. Thank you very much. Thank you, Tobeka.
Quick introduction for those who don't know me. Hi, my name is Henny, and I'm a software engineer by trade and a gamer by night. So this is going to be kind of a speed talk. It's not very in detailed, it's very high level overview, but we'll start with storage. There was 19 announcements made. We're only going to focus on one of those announcements, and that is S3 tables. Now, S3 tables is really optimized for query performance, more on the data lake side, on the analytics. So if you're a data scientist, data engineer, this is kind of your playground. And what Amazon really did is there was there's originally two buckets. One for general purposes and one for directories like static web hosting and things like that. And now they introduced a new bucket called S3 tables. and is basically the purpose is it's storing the storage of Apache Iceberg tables for analytic analysis. So if you're working with Apache Iceberg or like Snowflake, Databricks, this is kind of something you'll be really interested in. And previously, there was only Databricks and Snowflake in this whole data lake war. But recently, AWS joined this game as well. And this is a game changer for a lot of people because always there was only two options really available. And now there's a third option. Really brief overview. If you don't know what is Iceberg, here's a nice picture explaining the open format, and you can really see a lot of competitors like Kafka. You can stream to Iceberg, for example. Your cloud providers at the bottom, and then a few tools you can connect to Iceberg on top. And then there's really a few format popularities in there. There's kind of a tug of war between Delta Lake and Iceberg, and that's kind of where AWS came into in the Iceberg space to kind of put them down and really make their mark in it. So S3 tables, here you can really understand the just make it here so I can actually just talk to you here. So if you work with services like AWS Glue, tables, your table catalogs, this is where AWS will help you in your workloads. You can still run your Glue workloads, and you can still your table catalog will now look a bit different with the new table bucket in it. And now there's a lot of confusion on the internet. How can I actually read my data? Can I use different providers and something? And today only Apache Spark is supported to query your data and to read your data. So only Apache Spark. Don't listen to the other people. They are talking nonsense. You can only use Apache Spark to query data and actually visualize your data. So how do I use S3 tables today? So one, you'll need to be familiarized with the Amazon CLI, and it needs to be version 2. Then you'll create your buckets using your CLI, and then create the EMR cluster. That's also previously known as Elastic MapReduce. I've tried it. I got frustrated. I left it. For the data scientists, good luck. EMR is not for me. And then you'll need Apache Spark to actually query your data. So there's a lot of confusion around, because we know S3, cool, storage. Yes, it is storage, but it's not the same as your normal buckets. It has a lot of, the learning curve is a lot higher because you use the CLI. You can't just browse into it as the normal directory. It doesn't work that way. And then also, evil EMR cluster setups, you have to struggle with that. And really, I don't have time for it as a software engineer, but maybe data scientist loves it. And maybe in your workspace, you have already an EMR set up that you can connect to. And also just be cautious. This is a very expensive service because you're querying data lakes and it's big data and there's a lot of querying happening. So just be wary. It is a very expensive service to use. And then if you want to read more about it, there's a QR code. It is only available for now, I think, in 3 regions. It is general available at this moment. So that is short and sweet, S3 tables. So now we'll move on to databases. And this is kind of more my space and more in the software engineer. And we'll look at DSQL, distributed SQL, whatever you want to say. And at first I was like, DSQL. I was like, huh? What's this? So obvious, I was like, I heard the announcement and I was like, Google DSQL. And as soon as I did, Reddit post pops up. It's like, and people are confused. It's like, is it the new DynamoDB? Is it like a collab? It's like, what's happening? And is it better performant than your databases? Or is it another boring serverless thing because we heard it's serverless, and you're kind of going to struggle with it because they say it can do this and it can't do this. But really, it's basically a relational SQL database optimizing for transactional, with the keyword transactional workloads, where you can't use it for normal data storage. It's more focused on transactional workloads. So the promise here is really, yes, it's serverless. Please note it's Postgres compatible. It's not Postgres, it's Postgres compatible. And there's something called OCC, or optimistic concurrency control. So things here that's a bit different. It does include a journal. Think of it as your log, where kind of your history of what's been happening with your table. And then it includes the adjudicator that kind of keeps keys to the chaos and makes sure everything is fine in your database, make sure there's no conflicts, and so on. So think of it as the police of the database. Then each layer consists of a few things. You have your query processor, adjudicator, your journal, and also your storage label where actually the data sits. And what DSQL makes it different is each layer can scale horizontally, independently, as needed, but based on your workloads. So where traditionally now with DSQL, your reads only touch the query processor, and your query processor decides, cool, where to store your data, and that happens atomically. But now, where the change really comes in is the commit, where the adjudicator comes in. You have your journal, and that kind of balances out your reads, your writes, your commits. And this phase with the adjudicator journal only comes in your commit phase. Then you have, important to note, your regions. For now, because it's in preview, it's only available in those 3 regions. And if you do a multi-region active kind of setup, it's only available US West as your witness region. Another thing is connections. There's 1,000 connections per cluster. So if you have some application that's very with the transaction intensive, you have a lot of transactions, a lot of connections, a lot of pods, just keep that in mind. You're going to have to add more clusters to your limit, and also 10 connections per second for now. And then another feature is concurrency control. It's kind of, you put your table in a lock state and you can write the data. This one doesn't slow the other transactions happening. So traditionally, deadlocks, root of all problems, deadlocks can't happen. And then the optimistic concurrency control is commit time based, not lock based. So it doesn't lock up your database. I think everyone has struggled with deadlocks at some point. And then there's just a QR code to scan for DSQL if you want to read on about it. Just give a minute. Cool. Then compute and containers. There's only one thing I'm going to focus on, and EKS auto mode. That's kind of a game changer in my day-to-day. I'm not a DevOps engineer. I just work a lot with EKS on a day-to-day basis. So traditionally, EKS uses autoscaler to increase your node groups for scaling. If you have more pods, you add more node groups, and that's kind of how your traditional workloads look like. You have a lot of different size pods in your node groups, and if you want to add more details to it, you're going to have to add a more node group, and you increase in size and all those nice things, and more cost. But now with EKS Auto Mode also introduced a thing called Carpenter. Now Carpenter manages each node directly. The big difference here is it scales the node groups to the correct size, so you can have more node groups, but each one is scaled correctly, so it will actually cost you less. Then you have 10 big pods or 10 big node groups, and you can have 15 smaller node groups that's correctly sized. So that's really, really important for Carpenter. Just to give you a side-by-side view how EKS were and how EKS is today. Sorry, my bad. So back then, when you manage your EKS, EKS versions got upgraded, and your things like Carpenter, your storage and things were in your nodes, and you had to manage them on your own. But now with EKS Auto Mode, AWS takes that guesswork out of the question. They manage Carpenter, they manage the storage, the elastic containers, things like that. And they basically leave you only to focus on your program, your pods in your applications, and deliver better code. And then there's EKS Auto Mode general available. It is available in all regions. And then just to sum it up, Aurora DSQL used for transactionals, S3 tables you will use for analytic workloads, and EKS Auto Mode, which is Carpenter, which is for us a fairly game changer in this industry. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Miri Masharia. So I'm a software engineering team lead at Electron Payments, and I'm also an AWS Community builder. Last year, I also got a chance to go to AWS reInvent in Las Vegas. We were part with Tobacco, spent a lot of time there, had also some time to go to the Bay Area and New York, you know, through an opportunity which I'm going to talk at the end, because I believe all of us are builders. But in Community Builder, I'm part of the, machine learning, and I thought today I could give you like very quick 5 announcements that were made about AWS Bedrock. I think last year we hosted a workshop here with AWS staff member called Kugumotso, yeah? And I'm looking forward, to organizing another workshop this year around generative AI, machine learning, and all that. So I'm just going to run through the announcement, but there are other opportunities that are going to come for you to come, and we are going to train you and to help you to build on generative AI. Okay, so AWS Bedrock, they did. Oh yeah, I was looking for that image. So they have added what we call prompt optimization on the Bedrock. So meaning that you can be able to test the prompts that you're having. So on AWS Bedrock, we've got models, we've got builder tools, we've got knowledge bases, we've got everything. So in the builders, we've got the agent. And if you're building an agent, you may want to probably store some of the prompts that you're going to use, to query your agent. And what AWS has done, they have brought, like a section on Bedrock. I don't know whether I can be able to. Yes. Yes. So, prompt management. So here on prompt management, you can go there, you can be able to manage all your prompts. Okay. I'm not going to spend more time, I'm just going to show you. Like I said, we will have more opportunities during the year to host workshop and to teach you more about this. Then, the next one is about Amazon Bedrock Flows. So this is like, a visual builder, where you can be able to see, the actions and everything that you're doing on Amazon Bedrock, and it's able to pull up, the logic, the code, orchestration, and all other services, and you can be able to see it, visually, and it can be able to guide you properly when you're developing. So, just to go back, if you want to see the flow, you can come here, click here. Let me check this. I have this flow. You can edit in there. And then it can be able to help you. You can be able to see all your code logic and all the building that you're doing. Right. The next one is model distillation. This is very exciting. Who knows what is model distillation? Like someone? Do we have someone to tell them?
No, I'll ask a question.
Okay.
Wait, there's a microphone. Yeah. Use your keys.
Tell us what is model distillation.
I think, hello everyone, was good. I think model distillation is more of like fine tuning, or sort of like restricting, not even restricting, just enabling your model to be more focused on certain topics and certain ideas. So it's more of like sharpening the tool.
Okay, there is fine tuning.
Yeah.
Someone else?
Is that a good answer?
I'll just call it at 50. Someone else to talk about model distillation.
Defining the prompts to defining the prompts and cut out the unnecessary stuff. Prompt.
Okay. Someone else, what is distillation, yes?
Yeah, instead of having like one really big model with a lot of yeah, instead of having a really big model, which takes a lot of computers on, you can distill the model. So less parameters and so on, but quite as same performance. Yeah, that's the output of the model distillation.
150%. Yeah, so model distillation is about, if you go to if you go on Bedrock platform, there are so many models, like over 154 models currently, because AWS decided to introduce something called AWS Bedrock Marketplace. So partners that are building on Gen AI, they can develop a model and use AWS, to serve customers. So there are so many models right now there on AWS, and probably you don't want to deal, for example, crowd model 3.5. You don't want maybe to use that. So what you do, you want to distill that model and cut it, through an automated way, like you can see on my diagram there. And you're going to create what we call a student model. So you got a teacher model, which is the big model, and then through data and data synthesis, you'll be able to create a small model, which is a student model, and you can host it on your, on your AWS account, and then it can be faster and cost-effective rather than using the bigger model. So that's the basic about model distillation. We can go through, at some point, Okay. Next one, multi-agent collaboration in Bedrock. So, if those of us who have been building on Bedrock, about agents, or agents that work, with the knowledge bases. So probably, I remember last year we did a workshop here on Gen AI, and we did go through a workshop called Chat with Your Documents, right? And what Chat with Your Document does is, you create a knowledge base of your document, and then you can be able to query them. and then you can, use agent to run some prompt on it. So now, if you want to probably handle a complex task, right? And probably you got a lot of, you want it to be modular. You got I'm trying to get an example. Probably you are running an e-commerce, probably support center, and you want to create an agent that does some kind of level 1 support and then some level 2 support. So you have like some step in which you are solving the query. So you may want to use a number of agents. So with Bedrock nowadays, you can be able to use what we call a multi-agent collaboration of those agents. And allow me to show you. So if you go here, it's going to go back here. Come here to agent. So you can see here they have told you got what we call multi-agent collaboration. And you can build it, you can build on that. Okay. So the last announcement, I think very soon we did talk about it. The introduction of new foundational models by AWS. They are calling them cutting edge, but I haven't managed to do testing between Amazon Nova with the other models yet. But they did introduce them, and you can go and try, and check them out and check whether they can be able to. I think the battle of foundational models is image generation currently. With text generation, I think many models are scoring really well, but with image generation and video generation is still, I think, is still a growing area, and I think every provider of foundational models are trying to to close the gap there. All right, so I think so I'm done with the announcement on Bedrock, and like I say, look for opportunities to run about all these announcements, to get hands-on, get your builder ID. We're gonna be using it in the workshop, and So how did I get to attend AWS reInvent? It's very costly, like Henny said. You got to buy a ticket. I think is $2,500. Am I correct? Or $2,000? I don't know, over $2,000. Then you got to pay your flights. You got to pay your accommodation in Las Vegas, which is a very expensive, city, I think. Then you got to have to pay for the Ubers and everything. But I did the cost, and the cost was coming around 150,000 rand or something when I convert. So how did I get to attend? It was through the AWS, what we call ABW grant, or what we call All Builders Welcome grant. And that's me, and with another AWS grantees, that's Chan. He's from Hong Kong, a very active member of AWS developer community. And what does the grant cover? It covers registration for reInvent, hotel accommodation, round-trip flight, AWS exam vouchers. I used one of their vouchers to get a certification for AWS Solution Architect, so that's good. AWS mentorship, you get to interact with executive or very senior staff members at AWS. And reserved seats during keynotes. All the keynotes that the issuers shared, there is a special place for all the ABW grant, grant recipient, they see it. And then global network. So you get, it was my first time to meet people from Panama, Guatemala, like face to face, and you're like, oh, and they invite you, to go visit them, which is amazing.
Because
sorry?
you guys go back to the casinos.
Yes, we did. Jamaica, did you go gambling? Okay, me I did. I went gambling. But you went to Fremont, right? Yeah, she went to Fremont. Okay. So more details about ABW grant. So those are all the recipient grants we did. We took a photo. It's open to all builders with less than 5 years in their tech career. And applications opened around July and responses are sent around September, such that you can get, you can sort yourself for visas and everything. So it's a great opportunity. I think when they open for this yearly event, I think Tatenda and the AWS meetup group here, I think they will send an announcement to each one of you, such that you can try, your opportunity there. What are the most important things for you to get, to increase your chance of going? I'm just going to say two, and maybe Tobeka can add one of them. So number one, for you to get chosen, it's good to learn about AWS. Probably you're in machine learning, learn what AWS is doing in that field. You are in analytics, learn what they're doing in that field. You are in compute, learn what they're doing in that field. The other thing is getting involved in the AWS community. So attending this event, sharing your knowledge online, hosting an event with students. For example, I did that 2 years ago, and I did that for a while. Writing blogs. I think very sure you host some mentorship around writing, so you can speak to very sure about that. Anything else, Tobeka, that can increase your chance to get?
We've covered most of the things. So also technical. I also started technical, but I also work with AWS at my job. Like most of the things, what you're working on and stuff that you like. If you run multiple workloads on AWS, I think you have chances because now they know that you're using it, and if you are more involved in the AWS community, like writing technical documentation, and yeah, I think it covers pretty much everything.
Yes. And I think
what I've seen that they look for when they're doing the reviews and where people tend to fail, what they're really looking for is why you're going there. And your why must be, I want to learn, I want to meet a global network that you've talked about. So if all the answers that you answer there, it doesn't come across like someone who wants to go and learn, like you just want to go and have a great time, you're not going to be selected. I know they look for that quite a bit. And then you talked about less than 5 years in your tech career. Before I joined AWS, I became a cloud engineer just before I joined AWS. So I wanted to go to the ground. But now I've been in tech for 7,000 years, but I've only been a cloud engineer for 2 years. What do I do? So I didn't apply, only to find out that you can. The 2 years cloud engineer, you can just put that. So if you've been in tech for a long time, but your role now is less than 5 years, you can apply and use that role as your experience.
Yeah. Yes, and I think we can't wait to see some of Cape Town AWS community, some of you going to Las Vegas and representing the community there. Yeah. Thank you so much, and I'll be available for any questions.
Okay, I'm going to ask another question. I'm going to give the best example.